Hi guys, in this video I'm gonna be doing a video review of the Tiffen 77mm variable ND filter. First of all, what is an ND filter? An ND filter is a glass which is designed to reduce the amount of light hitting the sensor. Different ND filters have different amount of darkening effect, which is rated as stops of light. While a 1 or 2 stop ND might make a very subtle difference, a 10-stop ND will create a huge difference. Now we know what an ND filter is. Let me explain why someone might need for both photo and video. While taking a photo outdoors, if you shoot with a small aperture number, you will find yourself using shutter speeds very high, ranging from 1/500th of a second to 1/8000th of a second. Shooting with a fast shutter speed might not be a problem in most cases, but if you want to create motion blur, you might want to use a slower shutter speed. Of course, aperture number can be increased to something like f16, but this creates two new problems. First, increasing aperture will increase depth of field, which may not be something you want. And second, even increasing the aperture number might not be enough for some cases. As an example, taking water shots where the water looks very flat will need shutter speeds higher than a second. But I think an ND filter for photo is more of a special case filter. Where an ND filter really shines is in video. Why? Because video is very different in one aspect. The shutter speed is determined by the frame rate. Most cinematographers will agree that you should keep your shutter speed twice your frame rate. So if we are shooting 24 or 25 frames per second, then our shutter speed should be 1/50th of a second. And there are three things that change an exposure: ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. So our shutter speed is locked with our frame rate, so we can't change that. And if you are outdoors, our ISO is 100 and we can't lower that either. So the only value that we can change is our aperture. But that means we are limited to apertures very small, as an example f16 or f11. And that means on a sunny day we can't shoot with faster apertures and create a shallow depth of field. And that's where an ND filter comes in handy. Instead of using the aperture to change the light that is hitting the sensor, we can set an aperture based on the depth of field we want, and then we can change the exposure using an ND filter. And this means an ND filter is essential if you want to control your depth of field outdoors. That's the reason why I think an ND filter for video is far more essential than for photo. Now, as I said, this filter is a variable ND filter. What this means is that the outer part of the ring rotates and it affects the darkness of the glass. It goes from a minimum 2 stops to a maximum 8 stops. And 8 stops means instead of using f16, you can use f2, f1.4, which will create much more shallower depth of field. And for DSLR video shooting, I think a variable ND filter gives much more control over the darkness of the image, so I think a variable ND filter is the way to go. So let's talk about this ND filter, 77mm Tiffen, in terms of both sharpness, vignetting, and color shift. Okay, here are a lot of photos. This is taken with a 24mm lens. I'm changing the stop of the lens from 2 to 8, and you can see the vignetting and the effects on the photo. Now, this is the same test with a 50mm, because if you want to create depth of field, you wouldn't shoot with 24mm. So actually this test makes more sense. And you can see that the vignetting and color shift are far less reduced in this one. And this is a real world example from 2, then 5, 6, 7, 8, again like the same tests, but this time you can see the real effect on a real photo or video. And as you can see, the 7 to max is really unusable. Thanks for watching my review. Now I'm gonna leaving you with some clips that I shot with this variable ND filter, which has a lot of shallow depth of field. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this.